The best and worst performing NASDAQ income ETFs with a high yield so far in 2026. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Spencer and I talk all about investing via ETFs and sometimes some dividend stocks as well. If you're interested in income, this video is for you. We're going to break down how the performances have been for these NASDAQ ETFs. These are some of the most popular and most talked about on YouTube and other investing websites. So I hope you guys are interested. There's one key piece of information that I will deliver at the end when we're doing the final breakdown that is really, really important, so you don't want to miss it. As always, if you guys are interested in ETFs and investing in dividends, don't forget to like the video and to subscribe so you never miss future uploads. I always love creating this type of video because although I've made it a couple times already this year, so much has happened since the last one that can shift the best and worst performers. So I'm going to give a full breakdown. We'll talk about what makes these funds different, which one I like the most, because of course there is one that I hold more of than any of the others, and of course all the details. And then we're going to throw all of this into stock analysis, which they're doing a little promo right now, but I'll touch more on that later. And stock analysis is going to show us which has been the best performer, not just in price return, but also factoring in those dividends and give us a lot more important information. Now, let's get into it. Starting off with our tickers. We have QQQI, we have GPIQ, we have KQQQ, QDVO, IQQQ, JEPQ, and TDAQ. And a lot of these have similar structures, but have different things that do change their performance. Now, expense ratio wise, there is a pretty wide variety. We have 0.68% with QQQI, which is the biggest holding that I have. I have most of my income when it comes to the NASDAQ being generated by QQQI, and I've been very, very happy with it. GPIQ is 0.29%, quite a bit cheaper than QQQI. KQQQ, which is 0.99%, the most expensive on this list. QDVO at 0.56, IQQQ 0.35, JEPQ 0.35, and TDAQ at 0.77. Now, expense ratio can be a very tricky thing. I don't like paying more, but some of these funds, you do have to pay more depending on what they're doing. For instance, if a fund has some leverage component, which none of these do, if they have leverage, you will have to pay more for that leverage because leverage is not free. More exposure to the underlying is not free by any means. Now, some of these do have more expensive expense ratios than I would like, but that's just the way that it goes. When it comes to KQQQ, they are specifically selecting the holdings, which I believe is why they are charging more. It's not just a NASDAQ ETF. It specifically is their select. It's their Titan select. I think it's only 30 or 40 holdings. And QDVO. I got in a little bit of an argument with someone in the comments arguing that this is a Russell 1000 ETF. All the research I found says not at all. It holds tech titans. It holds these big names in tech, and thus QDVO is a NASDAQ ETF, although it does shift a little bit depending on what they want to put in the fund. And that's what makes it unique from like GPIQ and QQQI. So, have to clarify. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I always appreciate feedback. But sometimes I get comments I'm like, I promise you, I do not think that's the way it goes. Now, IQQQ is pro shares, not nearly as popular. JEPQ, wildly popular with the lower yield, and TDAQ a little more expensive because they're doing daily options. They're doing what are they called? Zero DTE, meaning they end at the end of each day. So QQQI focuses more on yield. GPIQ gives you a bit of a yield and also some price return. So it all depends on the structure of what you're looking for. When we're looking at the yields, we see QQQI is at 14.11%, GPIQ 9.76, KQQQ 17.24, QDVO 11.03. Oh my gosh, it's going to bother me. There's no percent. IQQQ 7.86, JEPQ 10.49, which is very high for a JP Morgan fund, but the NASDAQ is more volatile than what you'd see with an S&P fund, meaning you're going to have a higher yield typically. And TDAQ 16.8%, which is absolutely amazing. So the big winners, KQQQ and TDAQ, and the lower yielders being IQQQ and technically GPIQ. But again, GPIQ will give you a bit more growth. And we're looking at the 1 year price return. These are going to be very skewed. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. It looks absolutely phenomenal, 20-25%. But remember, we did see a pullback almost exactly 1 year ago in the market, which did cause, it ruffled a lot of feathers, made people very weary of investing in tech and whatnot. But that pullback makes it look like our returns have been absolutely astronomical in comparison to doing like a full year in a couple months would look very different. So just a little disclaimer there. Now the AUM, Varies drastically. Looks like QQQI is the largest at almost 11 billion in AUM, and I'm not surprised by that. Neos has a grip on these funds. Their option strategies to avoid NAV erosion are absolutely phenomenal. GPIQ almost 4 billion, very, very interesting there. KQQQ a little bit smaller, 106, 107 million. QDVO, 662 million, very popular fund for sure. IQQQ, 385 million. JEPQ, 37 billion. Actually, yeah, JEPQ is the largest. I always forget how big these JP Morgan funds are. And then we have TDAQ, 165 million, which is still growing. TDAQ only came out under a year ago. So although it is a little bit low in AUM, it's very interesting. I also believe KQQQ came out under a year ago as well, and potentially QDVO. We have a lot of new NASDAQ funds, and I'm guessing that that trend is going to continue as these are wildly popular. Next, we have percent return of capital. This is an estimate. It's really hard to lock down this number because it varies. Each payment can vary by drastic amounts. Some have tons of return of capital, some have none. But the main takeaway is a lot of these funds are trying to focus more towards return of capital. Neos is good at this. GPIQ is okay. KQQQ, not really. QDVO, even less. IQQQ, kind of in the middle. Worst is JEPQ. I don't believe they target return of capital at all, so it's a very low percent. And TDAQ is one of the best as well, really targeting that return of capital when it comes to those dividends, which can make a massive difference, especially if you're investing outside of a tax-exempt brokerage. For instance, I invest primarily in a Roth IRA. What's happening though is I want to invest more than they allow me to invest in that every single year. So I will be shifting my portfolio and putting some of these better taxed ETFs outside of it into a normal brokerage and investing mostly with my growth and other holdings in that tax-exempt brokerage because they have no benefits when it comes to the tax side of things. So I hope that that makes sense. So full breakdown. Now we're going to throw all this up on the chart. So if you're visual like I am, you'll be able to see exactly what I mean and the full returns of these funds, all thanks to stock analysis. Starting off with some of our most popular funds, we have QQQI and GPIQ plugged in. I'm just going to add the rest slowly, but I want to talk about these two because these ones get a lot of hype online for good reason. So we can see QQQI is up almost 5% and GPIQ is up 7.5%, a little more so. And that is because of the structure of these funds. So GPIQ is going to gain more on the price return, while the Neos fund, QQQI, is going to give you a better yield. And that's the trade-off. If you're looking for more growth, GPIQ. If you want that consistent high yield, QQQI, and so on. So we'll add in a few more of these now as we go. So we'll do KQQQ, because this one does surprise me. It is their select holding. So if one of the holdings of this curve fund does take a hit, it will drop drastically. And it was underperforming the rest, definitely higher risk. But it is now right in the middle at 6.22% with the total return year to date. Now, total return means our price return and our dividends are factored in here. Next, we're going to add QDVO, which I think is a really solid fund. I think it gets a bad rap because depending on performance, depending on when you're looking, it is more volatile and it's only up 4%, making it the worst performer so far. But I do think if you give this one some time, there's a lot of potential here. So again, QDVO has a very high yield. And because of that, if you're in an environment where the markets are just absolutely flying and the NASDAQ is running rapidly, we're seeing crazy price return, it won't really be getting that price return as much. You'll be getting a good yield and consistency and definitely no NAV erosion. But on top of that, you're not going to have the exposure because of how much of the portfolio they're writing options on. So very solid, our first four. We have 3 left. I've added IQQQ to our comparison, but I want to take a moment and thank Stock Analysis for the special deal that they have going on for you guys, for the viewers of the channel. So not only do you get 1 free month, but you'll also get 20% off your first year of the Pro or Unlimited plan with the code Spencer20. So I'll put all of that down in the description. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I love that they give us some special perks, right? It also helps support the channel because I am an affiliate. So if you're interested in stock analysis, definitely check it out and use that code and promo down below so you can get your free month and your discount. So IQQQ is one that I don't usually talk about. Now, it's not simply because I don't like it, it's just because it's been an underperformer. But one thing that I think is very interesting is this market that we've been in has been better for it. It has been outperforming a lot of the funds that I thought it never would. And that's the cool thing with these comparisons and with checking in on this data. So IQQQ is definitely one to watch. And it just goes to show you, you can't always just rule out an ETF. Maybe if it's something that's not your strategy, yes. But if you're like, oh, it just hasn't been the best performer, still keep it on a chart, keep tracking it and see the performance. So next we're going to add in one of our most popular, of course, which is JEPQ. Now, it's most popular because of that AUM size. When we add JEPQ in, it is one of the worst performers in second to last, right above QDVO. You know, this one isn't necessarily a fit for everyone, but there is a reason why it's so unbelievably popular. And that is because it has a low expense ratio and it is lower risk because they have equity linked notes, which basically gives you a bit less risk and a bit less reward in the long term, depending on the market. That's how we've seen it perform so far. But this thing is massive because retirees love it because you get to have less risk and you still get a very solid income of 10%, which is absolutely amazing. So 4.5%, can't complain. We're only a couple months into 2026 so far, and I am curious how these results differ when we go even further into 2026 and maybe even into 2027. And last but certainly not least, we have TDAQ. And TDAQ looks like it has been trading for this entire year. It is a newer fund, but it has been trading for over this 4-month period. And it jumped all the way to second place. It is up 7.31% with the total return, which is absolutely outstanding. Now, again, this one using those zero DTE, the zero DTE strategy makes it different. And so when I said that I had a really key piece of information to tell you at the end, let's break that down. What happens with these funds is never going to be static. They will primarily always have some that outperform, underperform, depending on the market. So what it comes down to really is your strategy. You have to understand what you're looking for, what diversification you need, if any. Maybe you want to go all in on one fund. Maybe you want to simply buy 2 or 3 of them. Maybe you want to buy a little bit of each of them and really be risk off. But with that come the different caveats. You may underperform, you may outperform. All of this comes down to your individual investing strategy. And while I love NASDAQ funds, I do hold the most of QQQI by Neos, like I stated, because the income is phenomenal. And you can actually do it's XQQI is their leverage version, which I hold a lot of as well, because I like the leverage and I'm okay with the risk. But that is not for everybody. If you're looking for more risk off, you can do JEPQ or maybe IQQQ. If you want risk on, KQQQ, QDVO, and maybe TDAQ is kind of in the middle of those two. For more growth, GPIQ. For high yield, QQQI, and that consistency that comes with that Neos ETF, like it does with most ETFs, most Neos ETFs, I should say. I almost forgot one of the most important parts of the video. My mistake. Here is the 1-year chart. Now, I'm showing you the 1-year chart because this will showcase how these all reacted to a crazy downturn, and then a pullback, and then a downturn, and another pullback in the market, which I think is very important just looking at the overall volatility. And this, of course, is total return. So we are factoring in the dividends as well. Now, the results are definitely mixed. We see, first of all, TDAQ has not been trading for a full year. So that is why we're going to rule it out with this one, but it is up. If you go to the max chart here on stock analysis, it gives you the timeline that all of these have been trading in comparison. TDAQ is one of the better performers, something to note. But back to the 1 year, you can see our top performer is actually KQQQ, which is really surprising because I would have ruled this one out. It's very aggressive, but when you have that growth, it does perform really well. Second place, we have IQQQ, which I never would have guessed. And then we have GPIQ, which again is focusing on growth. So I'm not surprised by that one. But then we have QDVO, we have QQQI, we have JEPQ. So the worst performer actually is JEPQ, unfortunately, but that's kind of what it does, right? That's the point of that fund: security and consistency. So just to showcase, although year to date, these ones are all looking, there's quite a big spread, there is always information in checking how they have been performing in back testing. And you can even go all the way back to 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and so on and so forth. And most of these funds weren't even around 3 years ago, which I find very interesting. We're in a new age of ETF investing. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you check out the stock analysis discount and take those discounts. Utilize those when you get the chance because they don't come around super often. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you like this video, you're going to like this one popping up on your screen right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check it out. It's on retiring on Neos dividends. Can you really do it? Is income really able to help us retire earlier? Check that video out and let me know what you think.